March 2004. Before I get going, I need to make an adjustment. Don't know if that'll make any sort of difference, but we'll see. Anyway, March 2004. I'm not going to lie. It'll seem like I've fallen back into old habits. I talked about how amazing the changes were in January of 2004. Well, we're not really going to see any of that here. But you know what? You should still stick around. Maybe you'll hear about something interesting. So let's kick it off with the first book that I read in March of 2004, which was Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Mortal Fear by Scott and Denise Cienson. As always, no good with the pronunciation. In this book, Buffy is following mysterious clues to try to find the pieces and reassemble a soul sword. Meanwhile, her friends are all trying to move on with their lives without magic and things. And people start getting sick in the town of Sunnydale, which means the vampire food supply is going bad. And so Buffy has to deal with all this stuff. If you're a fan of Buffy, it's always fun to read these books. And that's about all I have to say about that. And then after that, I read Angel Sanctuary by Jeff Marriott. In this book, Angel and the gang are hanging out at Caritas, the demon karaoke bar. There's an explosion outside, which apparently was cover for a drive-by shooting. But Winifred, is kidnapped. And so basically, Angel and the gang trying to find and rescue Fred. Fred, love that character. This takes place, I'm not exactly sure which season, so it could be the good seasons, could be the bad season. Season 4, not great. But anything with Fred is probably going to be good. Again, that's all I have to say about that. Angel Sanctuary, Jeff Marriott. Let's turn the page. And then, I forgot to grab. I actually have a couple books. Let's set them right there. And then, Smallville, Silence by Nancy Holder. A novel based on the TV show Smallville. And in this book, there's some murders in Haiti, which awfully far away from Smallville, but then there's some jewelry heists going on being perpetrated by zombies, apparently. So, of course, Clark Kent, who's not Superman yet, Clark and his friends are going to get involved, and there's a military conspiracy, and there's, of course, Lex Luthor and Luthor Corp being involved somehow, and zombies. Smallville and zombies. Sounds like a fun combination. Smallville, Silence, Nancy Holder. Then we have Justice League of America, The Flash, stop motion by Mark Schultz. And this is the Wally West Flash, former Kid Flash. Wally West is now The Flash. So it's post-Crisis on Infinite Earths. And, so he's new to the Justice League, trying to make his bones, as the kids say. But he is the fastest man alive. But somebody has created something even faster than the Flash, and it is causing death and destruction in Keystone City. What's Flash going to do? How's he going to stop someone who's faster than he is? Well, you'll have to read the book to find out. This is part of a series. All the books sort of fit together, even though they're standalone, but there's a bigger picture with fun little covers. The Flash, Justice League of America, The Flash, stop motion, Mark Schultz. I'm a fan of The Flash, but he's written well. I think he's an interesting character. And I wouldn't mind having super speed. That's one of my top 3 superpowers. All the stuff I could get done if I had super speed. There you go. That's that. Then we have On a Darkling Plain by Richard Lee Byers. This is a book set in the world of Vampire the Masquerade, the role playing game from White Wolf Publishing. And basically, it takes place in a city, unimportant city, I don't know, in the South. And things for the vampires are just kind of getting crazy. And the prince of the city needs to figure out what's going on. Not no very specific plot points that I can recall. So just another one of those books taking place in Vampire the Masquerade with your different vampire clans and politics and all that stuff. I enjoy that whole world. On a Darkling Plain, Richard Lee Byers. After that, we have Death Masks by Jim Butcher. This is a Harry Dresden book with a lot of stuff going on. There's a champion from the Red Court who has to duel Harry and kill him to bring an end to the war between the vampires and the wizards. This is in modern-day Chicago, by the way, for those who don't know. Harry Dresden is a wizard and a private eye. But there's, the dark world that people don't know about. So that's going on, and Harry's ex-girlfriend is back in town, and she's like part vampire. He's got to help her deal with that, and I don't remember the other things. A lot of stuff going on with Harry, though, and this is a series that I keep thinking about getting back to, but I have so much to read. I just haven't done it yet, and if I do get back to it, I think I need to start from the beginning again and reread from the first book, which is sort of an impediment to me because, again, so much to read. Rereading stuff low on the list of things to do. But anyway, Death Masks, Jim Butcher. Everything I've read from the series has been enjoyable. So that's a little tick in the positive side for getting back into this series. Then we have, excuse me, Sunset and Sawdust by Joe R. Lansdale. This is one of my favorite Joe Lansdale books. I know there's a few other standalone Lansdale books that people choose as their favorites. But this one's right up there with Cold in July. And then, after that, I go to the Hap and Leonard, which aren't standalone-ish, but part of a larger series. And this is about Sunset Jones. And the book starts off, not really spoilers, because it's the first thing it says on the inside flap. She kills her husband because he's trying to rape her, or is raping her. Her husband was the constable of their town. It's going to give me the name of the town. Camp Rapture. Small sawmill town. Camp Rapture. So she kills her husband for raping her, trying to rape her. And her mother-in-law makes Sunset Jones the constable of the town. And then there's a murder. A body, I think a woman and a child, are found covered in oil. And on the land, a woman and an unborn baby, excuse me. Investigation into the murder of a woman and unborn baby whose oil-drenched bodies are discovered buried on land belonging to the only black landowner in town. And this takes place during the era of Jim Crow. So, race relations being what they are in Texas back in the day. Just a fantastic book. I absolutely love the character of Sunset Jones. I think it's a great mystery. Lansdale is just an amazing writer and writes amazing characters and really brings out East Texas, makes me feel like I'm there. And I can't recommend this one enough if you haven't read Sunset and Sawdust yet by Joe Lansdale. Everybody should be reading Joe Lansdale anyway. The Hap and Leonard books are amazing. All his stuff is amazing. This is one of my favorites, and I can't recommend it enough. Sunset and Sawdust, Joe Lansdale. And then after that, we have The Books of Magic Consequences by, excuse me, Carla Jablonski. This is a novelization of a storyline from the DC comic Vertigo line, I believe, Books of Magic. It's about Timothy Hunter, who is a young British boy with glasses, who's going to be the most powerful wizard in the world. And he's got an owl companion. I do this every time these come up, because I think Books of Magic came out 7 years before Harry Potter. Anyway, in this one, basically, Tim Hunter is he's got a friend who he's never kept any secrets from before, and he's trying to decide if he should tell her about magic and all that stuff. And meanwhile, someone from the past who believes Timothy Hunter has done them wrong is looking for revenge. These are young adult books, and again, they're novelizations of a comic book, but I enjoy them. I think they're a lot of fun. I like that kind of stuff. So that's Books of Magic Consequences by Carla Jablonski. I think this is the 4th book in the series. And that was the penultimate book. I almost forgot to say that. Penultimate book from March of 2004. And the last book that I read in March of 2004. Here we go. Time of Judgment, Act 1, Gehenna, The Final Night by Ari Marmel. This is another Vampire the Masquerade book. This is the first in a trilogy that is going to end Vampire the Masquerade. Or at least end Vampire the Masquerade as we know it. And as such, this is simply bringing a whole bunch of characters from a whole bunch of the books that have been written, bringing them together, not necessarily in the immediate vicinity of each other, but bringing them into the story. I think this is the one that has what we're called Thin Bloods, and there are these antediluvians, which are possibly myths, possibly real. They're going to bring about the end of the world. Methuselahs are the super, super old vampires. And all of this stuff, just conflict between the different factions. But some of them have to work together. What's going on? Why are these Methuselahs popping up again? Are these antediluvians real? Just crazy Vampire the Masquerade action. Just so much going on. But again, as I said earlier, I really dig this stuff. I like the Vampire the Masquerade setting and the different clans. Some clans I like more than others. But and some of the writers on these books were better than others. But overall, it's generally I like my vampires to be straight up monsters, evil. But there are occasionally exceptions. Like, I enjoy Angel well enough. But I like the vampires in Vampire the Masquerade because even though they have their own society, they're still, kind of view humans as cattle. The only reason they're not out, the reason they have the masquerade is because there aren't enough vampires to survive if the humans basically came together. But there is that faction of vampires that think they should be out. Anyway, all sorts of stuff going on. Enjoy the setting. Time of Judgment, Act 1, Gehenna, The Final Night by Ari Marmel. And that's the final book that I read in March of 2004. Wow, I almost jumped ahead 20 years. So much media tie-in stuff. I really find it difficult to ask a question, so I suppose let's go with Joe Lansdale. It might be a question I've asked before, but are you a fan of Joe Lansdale? Have you read his work? If so, what is your favorite? If you haven't read anything by Joe Lansdale, why the hell not? What are you waiting for? He writes crime fiction. He writes horror. He's written westerns. I'm looking over at my Joe Lansdale stuff. He's done comic books. He wrote 2 Jonah Hex miniseries. He finished an unfinished Tarzan story for Edgar Rice Burroughs, his estate anyway. And he did a Lone Ranger comic, if I'm not mistaken. Just an amazing author, definitely in my top 3 favorite authors. And I already said Sunset and Sawdust, one of my favorite. Cold in July, absolutely love that book. The Hap and Leonard stuff, possibly Mucho Mojo out of the Hap and Leonard stuff being my favorite. So let's talk Joe Lansdale. Tell me your Joe Lansdale thoughts down below. And if you have any comments, questions, or corrections, please put those in the comments below. Comments are open for spoilers. Just post spoiler warning. We try to be polite here on my channel. Please like, share, and subscribe, all the usual YouTube stuff. If you'd care to follow me on other social media, my Twitter is @Ronan5757. My Instagram, where I post pictures of books, comic books, board games, and fuzzy animals, is Eric Smith5757. That's Eric with a K, ERIKSMITH 5757. On Blue Sky, I am @EL Smith. That's all I've got for you this week, so until next week, read more books.